Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast, where every week we want to give you encouragement through different means such as testimonies, dialogues with guests, along with diving into the scriptures and exploring the incredible life-transforming truths inside it. So with all that being said, here's another episode for you to tune into and listen to. God bless. Enjoy the episode. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast with me, Jerry D. We're still in the middle of the More Than Words tour series, and today we have one of the main acts on the tour. It is A.Ward, right? And let me tell you, I suppose, how I was introduced to this guy. What I think was a mistake was God ordained. I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and there was a reel about this battle rapper who was uh, basically he was performing against a guy from the point of view of someone who struggles with mental health. I was so impressed with the creativity, the honesty, but also the reality of how mental health affects people. And lo and behold, he was a Christian as well, which I thought was a miracle, hearing that Christians do battle rap. Like, because when you think of battle rap, you think of Eminem, all these other guys who are not Christians by any stretch of the imagination. But I say all that to say is that I bumped into this guy in 2018, which is just about 6 years ago, and I can honestly say he's been a source of encouragement to me with his consistency to both spoken word and the battle rap scene. We're going to talk more about that. But A.Ward, my man, thank you for giving up a small bit of your time to come on and be a blessing to the podcast. How are you?
Listen, man, thank you, man. As long as you still got that Chiefs banner flying in the background, I'm always gonna be here for you, man. I'm doing
That's
good.
right. Good. Speaking of Chiefs, we are getting very close to preseason. What's your prediction
Indeed.
for the upcoming season?
I'm gonna go 13-4. I just think it's really tough, it's just being the champs, you get everybody's best every year. So I don't foresee the Chiefs having any kind of like, you know, 15-2 or 16-1 type season, but I'll say 13-4. And then once we get to the playoffs, it's a wrap. So as long as we get there, we're either in the AFC title game or in the Super Bowl. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. Training camp, I'm thinking about going up to training camp. I don't know if today's the last day or not. If it's not, then I might go up tomorrow. But yeah, I'm excited, bro.
Yeah. Do you know what it is, right? It's like when you think of the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl this year, this was probably like their worst year in terms of performance. Like Mahomes didn't have much help, put it that way, apart from Kelsey. And then to
Yeah,
think that our worst year, we went to the Super Bowl, and now we have
yeah.
Xavier Worthy, and we have Checo is after getting slimmer as well, which means that he's I think he's about to tear up people this year.
Yep, yep. I saw a tweet that said in Mahomes' best year he won the Super Bowl, and in his worst year he won the Super Bowl. So when he's at his best or his worst, it's over for y'all.
Yeah. I think the only thing I want from this season is that we can get that loss back from the Raiders. What they done to us on Christmas Day was a
Yeah,
disaster. So hopefully now
yep,
we can get the W back from them.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But we ended up winning in their stadium anyway when it counted. So
Exactly. And hey, it doesn't matter who beats you in regular season, man. When you've got the ring at the end of the year, let them talk.
it's true, man. So it's been
Indeed.
good though. I'm excited for football to start or American football. I respect. I know over there what football is. So
Sure, sure. But hey, man, it's a joy just to have you on the podcast. And I know your story because I'm well in tune with your content and everything else that's going on in your world, man. But for our guests, maybe some of them have bought their ticket for the tour, maybe some of them haven't yet, and they're hearing about who's this guy A.Ward? Some guy from Kansas City? Why is he coming to Ireland? Will you share for a couple of minutes what it was like, man, growing up and how you came to faith in Christ?
yeah, most definitely. I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's in the southeastern area of the United States of America. And so I'm from you see people see me wearing Tennessee stuff all the time. This is where
Yeah.
the University of Tennessee is. But yeah, I grew up in East Tennessee, and the middle kid, 5 kids, single parent. Um, my mother and father, they got married when I was 1. They got divorced when I was 7. They got remarried when I was 15, and then re-divorced when I was 22, I think.
Wow.
So my childhood, growing up was kind of a bit of a roller coaster. I grew up in, with my mom being like a single parent of 5 kids. We grew up in a lot of like government housing, different apartment complexes and stuff like that. But the one thing about it is like A lot of times you see people that are like Christian artists or whatever, like they grew up in the church. Like I didn't grow up in church at all. Like I knew of church, and maybe sometimes I would go. Like if my mom needed like a babysitter, she would send us to church like on a bus or a van or something like that. But
Yeah.
like consistently going to church wasn't really a thing in my early years. So it wasn't until I was about 14 years old until I actually started going to church like consistently. And I got saved when I was 14 years old, and my dad got saved as well. And my dad, he had kind of been in and out of my life for the first 14 years. But he got saved as well. And then like God just really did a whole, a 180 on his life. And really just started to call me into the ministry and different things like that. And so started attending church, and then left Tennessee to go to Kansas City in 2005 to go to Bible college, where I played basketball in a Bible college, and I studied youth ministry. Worked at a church as a associate youth pastor for I think about 8 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so I kind of just like I said, I didn't really grow up in a church a house. But the minute that I got saved, the minute my dad got saved, the rest of my family started going to church. Like God really just he started to work on me, man. He started to work on me, and yeah. So now after that, I come to Kansas City. My older brother taught me how to rap my whole life. Like that's my introduction to hip hop. That's my introduction to poetry, rhyming, and everything. Like I always idolized my older brother, who was a rapper of the family.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of times people will watch my battles and they'll hear me shout out Cannon in my intro. And,
Yeah.
Cannon is my older brother. And I'll say 97. 97 is my little brother, who is one of my, best friends and one of my inspirations too.
Oh,
Um, but,
nice.
um, but I always shout out Cannon in 97. But yeah, my older brother taught me how to rap, rhyme. I wrote a lot of poetry because he was the rapper, and I didn't think rap was really my thing.
Mm.
When I got to Kansas City and I started working in the youth ministry, we worked into inner city youth ministry, and I just realized how captivated kids were by music and words and things
Wow.
that rhyme, how difficult it was to get them to memorize a scripture, but they could rap the whole verse to
Yeah.
a song, that they hear on the radio and then not miss a word. And so that's when I started to feel like, okay, God can maybe really use this gift for what I'm doing here in the inner city. So I started writing small like rap songs and stuff for the kids. And then it was like, man, I'm kind of good at this. So I started putting out Christian hip hop music, um, and enjoyed doing that for a time. But with me, it was always just a love of words, always a love of like metaphors, just rhyming, just I don't know, just the art of just being layered and the substance and stuff like that. Like I've always really just loved bending words and coming up with creative ways to see words and breaking them down and stuff.
Mm.
And so really my love for actually I guess rap is concerned, and my love is really more for writing, writing and performing. So I kind of went away from the making music type thing about 2011, 2012, and started focusing solely on spoken word and poetry.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, I got invited to do battle rap. A couple of my friends, well, I had been a battle rap fan, a huge battle rap fan for my whole life, all through college and stuff. And I never thought like I would be a battle rapper. I was like, oh, that's just something the battle rappers do. That's not what I
Sure.
do. And my buddy Street Hymns had hit me up and was like, hey, like there's a Christian battle rapper, out here named The Saga. You need to check him out, and it was actually Street Hymns and a guy named Selah the Coroner, who's a Christian hip hop artist. He hit me up
Yes.
too. And he's with God Over Money and
Yeah.
different things. So Selah hit me up too. And he was like, yo, you need to check this guy out, Saga. And so I watched Saga and I'm like, wow,
Mm.
like I think that you really can like be yourself, be Christian, and compete in this type of environment.
Yeah.
So I started to study up on it a little bit more. I knew Street Hymns' heart because he was a good friend of mine. I know his heart, and so he started battle rapping. And I'm like, you know what? I think I have the talent to do this too. So in 2015, I did my first battle, and you know, I don't know. God's timing is perfect in everything, and like I think it was just very very comforting for me from an artist standpoint. Like when we get our gifts from God, like sometimes we struggle with how to use them. Maybe you have a gift of communication, or maybe you just have a gift of kindness, or maybe you have a gift of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We struggle like what is the best way for me to use this gift to one, honor God, give God glory, but two, impact, people and show them like, what he's given me. And I did a lot, man. I did a lot of writing, rapping, rehearsing, music, all that kind of stuff. I did it for, 10 years, a little over 10 years. And when I started battle rapping, I realized I was like, yo, this is it. This is it. I compare it to like an athletic kid, in middle school and high
Mm,
school. Like if you're an athletic kid, you might play football, basketball, baseball, soccer, as we call it. You might play all of these sports because you can run, jump, and do all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
there's something that clicks, and you're like, nope, I'm gonna be a quarterback.
Mm,
I'm gonna focus on this. And when I started battle rapping, it was like, okay, this is what I am the best at, to where the most people can see it, and I'm old enough at the time because I was almost 30, where I'm mature enough in my walk and everything to where I'm able to go continue to be myself and have an example that I can put out and show people. So that's kind of where we're at now with it. I've been battling for 9 years now. In September it'll be 9 years, so almost a decade. I've been successful. I've been, able to travel a lot of places, rap a lot of places. But most of all, like I've just been able to go out and, one, share the gospel,
yeah.
be a in most and a lot of sharing the gospel and showing people what Jesus is twofold. It's loving people, it's being a good friend, it's being great, from a business standpoint as an artist. You can ask. I've performed over 120 times in the last, 9 years, and there's not a business or a company that's booked me that said he wasn't on time, he wasn't cordial, he didn't give us our money's worth, he didn't smile, you know what I mean? And coming from a being an artist standpoint, like that's such a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of ways that, like, you might watch the battle raps and you might say, oh man, they're rapping and it seems all high energy and aggressive and different things like that. And it's like, yeah. And when you watch football, they tackle each other. When you watch boxing, they punch each other. You know what I mean? And when you
Yeah.
watch these different things, but there are ways of your character in how you are a part of the culture and how you operate, where people see Jesus, and they really do.
Yeah. It is. It's crazy. The one thing that I admire, man, heavily about yourself and also the saga, street hymns. I know you said Sail Out the Corner. I didn't listen to too much of his stuff. I know Dayton done battle rap before he came to the Lord as well.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
um, but like I'm gonna say a statement, and it may be a little bit controversial for the so-called hip hop heads listening, but I believe the best writers in the whole world are battle rappers.
Yeah, I believe battle rappers and poets are the best writers. Like, I've met some poets, and now, mind you, battle rappers, we still rhyme at the end.
Sure.
Poetry at times doesn't have to rhyme. It can have its own layers and substance to it, so you're not kind of bound to those types of things or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do believe too. I do believe battle rappers and poets have the best pens in the world.
Yeah, it's true. Because, like I've listened to quite a lot of your battles, and, every battle is different. Some of the opponents, they have different, I suppose, tactics and ways that they want to come at you. Some guys may not like you. Some guys are just jealous of maybe your success. There's one battle in particular, man, that I remember I've watched several times, and it was the battle you had against Ilmac. And he seemed to be quite aggressive toward you. It seemed like his aggression was gone beyond the performance, and he came at you with some quite personal material. And I suppose, how was that for you, man? When you're standing on the stage in front of people, you're trying to remain composed but also perform your material. Did that maybe knock you in any way or distract you from performing per se?
All of that distraction came before the battle.
Sure.
And this is like the human element of it, and the background side of it is, I battled 120 times, and I would say maybe two different battles have I ever went in and felt like my opponent didn't care for me as a person, right?
Sure.
Um, and for the most part, sometimes you're battling strangers. Everybody. It's all competition. Battle rap, our community. It's you might be talking trash to each other online. I'm going to smoke you, whatever. Boom. When you get there, you shake hands, you smile, you get ready to go in there, you battle, you smile afterwards, you take pictures. Everybody wants to see everybody. What I mean? Of course, you want to win, but we
Yeah.
all want, we want what's best for us. And most of the time, 98% of the time, it's like that. And out of my 100 and however many 110 something battles, two battles have I ever gone into where there was a personal, and that's one thing that I try not to do because I don't like writing from a place of um I would say anger or animosity or any of that. You know,
Yeah.
I write from a place of creativity or a place of competition or a place of that's kind of how I operate.
Yeah.
And so myself and Ilmac 2 months before we battled, we had an issue where he disrespected me and my family. He had been drinking heavily, and he disrespected me and my family, and heavily, like bad, like not in a battle, just like at a restaurant after a battle event.
Okay.
And he apologized for it like about 15, 20 minutes afterwards, um, because he realized how it affected me.
Sure.
And just to be completely transparent, like my when he disrespected me, my initial reaction was not necessarily the most godliest, type situation because of how it went down.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. When King of the Dot wants to book the match, I thought that okay, well we were over that. He apologized. He had been drinking. He said some crazy out of pocket stuff. But we're just gonna go in here and battle.
Yeah.
Um, but come to find out that like when I got there, like he still was kind of on the same type of disrespectful time and energy and
Sure.
character. And so yeah, I don't watch that battle back a whole lot because I just don't like my body language, my facial expressions. I know that in my head I'm feeling like, rather than, man, I'm so happy to be here. God is good. We're gonna have a great time. Whatever. I was feeling in that battle like, man, I really don't like this guy. You know,
Yeah. Sure.
and that's only happened a couple times. But there is, and that's in those types of situations. Character is revealed.
Yeah.
And you know, since then, I've been able to have conversations with him, shake his hand, forgive him, move on, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but that battle itself, yeah, it's definitely got a personal feel to it.
Sure.
And yeah, it's an interesting battle for like on the timeline of what I've done over the last nine years, definitely.
Yeah. No, the only reason I say that is because I think sometimes when it comes to battle rap, people can think that it's just material that you're writing just to say, like, where sometimes it does get personal. Sometimes these
Oh
guys do
yes.
get up in your face, and as a Christian, you have to stand there and be able to be a witness even in those difficult moments where sometimes you want to lay hands on them and not pray for them, but just lay hands on them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. It can get personal. It can get, when you sign up to battle rap, unfortunately you're involving your family, you're involving your friends, you're involving your past, your everything you've ever done, because battle rappers, there's no rules in battle rap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody wants to go dig up something from from this or an ex-girlfriend, or somebody wants to talk about research your brother's name, or I've had people talk about my brother's addiction. My brother's been clean now 6 years.
Man.
But I have people basically go at that and disrespect that, talk about my mother's mental illness. I've had people talk about pretty much all kinds of things. And so
Sure.
got to have tough skin.
Yeah.
And I try not to, in my material, go that route, and I don't think that I do. And that's why it's great to have guys like Saga, Street Hymns, Loso, to like let them hear my material and just say, hey, like, if you hear anything that could come across as, in that vein of being, extra, or just not edifying in a certain way, like, let me know. So, but yeah, it definitely does get personal.
Yeah. Yes. And I love that you've even brought it up, man. Like I think what God is doing in battle rap, period, is phenomenal with the likes of Street Hymns, the Saga, yourself, and Loso. And I know Loso's coming on this tour as well. I suppose the obvious question is, how did you and Loso meet? Were you at a battle rap event, or what was that like, the first interaction?
Yeah, yeah. So, Street Hymns is really kind of the glue that got us all together. Street Hymns had an individual friendship with all of us.
Cool.
in different ways. Um, and so I knew of Loso before battle rap. I knew it's funny enough, I'm a competitive guy. Like I really am. Even before battle rap, I go to slam poetry competitions. I like to compete, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it was 2000 and maybe 13 or 14.
Mm.
Rapzilla did like a 16 bar challenge or something like that. Or no,
Yeah.
Legacy Conference put it on, but Rapzilla like co-hosted whatever it was. They would do when they would have all these artists come in and they would rap these 16 bars or whatever, and it was like a tournament. I
Yeah.
know like Braille was in it, Jim Stones was in it,
Mm.
Loso was in it, Street Hymns was in. There was a lot of guys in it, but anyway. So I became aware of who Loso was when him and Street Hymns performed in that competition because Loso won the competition.
Mm.
Um, and I remember on Facebook, I was like, man, I could have easily won this competition. You know what I mean? Like, and so I didn't even know Loso, but I did think Loso was dope because how he rapped like a battle rapper, and that's how I rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's when I became aware of who Loso was. But then like as Street Hymns kind of introduced me to Saga, and then Street started battling, and then he's telling me, "Hey, Loso," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know the guy you're talking about." Yeah, we really just all got on the phone, after a couple battles, and just kind of like, hey, if you ever need anything, cool, and then like about a year later, we actually agreed to like start what we call the Horsemen,
Mm.
with a group, with all of us that travels around and performs together and everything. Um, but yeah, I met Loso for the first time ever, 2016, no, 2017,
Yeah.
April of 2017. We met for the first time ever in Toronto. I was battling DNA, and he was battling Gems, and so yeah, that was the first time we ever met. And then I mean, Loso and we're all very very close. I just got back 2 days ago. I went flew to New York City for the Saga's gender reveal for his baby that he's going to have his first child.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and so, but yeah, me and Loso, like for the most part, we've been really good, if not best friends, probably for the last 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, that's my guy. We did the Poets and Autumn tour together. And yeah, just a solid dude, insane talent. And just walks with a spirit of excellence, honestly. And I like to walk with and work with people who have that a spirit of excellence, who are hard workers, who care about their craft, who care about what it looks like, how good it is, sharpens it, tries to get better every day.
Yeah.
But not only as an artist, but just as a man too. So
Sure. It's yeah, because the reason why I'm so glad it's class for me to even hear the story behind how you guys met, and your friendship is so evident, man, because when you guys performed the two on twos, like the chemistry, bro, like when yous battled B Dot the God and Geechee Gotti, like my goodness. Wow, the
it's so
chemistry
funny too
flawless.
because I you're right. It has to be the fact that we're just such good because we do not prepare for those battles as much as we should. Like those battles, like we've had, let's see, I think four now, two on twos in person. So B Dot and Geechee, KD and MVP, Clean Paper and Mac Myron, and then we just got done with Flair Soul and Foots.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think any of those battles have we practiced more than 1 week.
Wow.
And so yeah, we wrote and we don't live, he lives in Tampa, I live in Tennessee. That's
Yeah.
about 15 hours away from me if I was to drive. So all we do is talk on the phone, and then when we get to the city that we're in that weekend, we go over it for like one day.
Oh.
So for the chemistry and everything to be that locked in and that good, like sometimes him and I will look at each other and be like this past month when we battled Foots and Flair Soul, like we perform stuff like that we never performed, but we're doing the same thing. Like we're walking and doing the same mannerisms and stuff, and it was never practiced. We just, it's weird. We just think a lot alike. So, but yeah, that's my guy.
Wow. Oh man. Wow. I suppose the transition, I've never met you in Loso, although I've been supporting you both for probably, I would say, 8 to 9 years, both on your socials, bought the merch as well, and the
Thank
battles,
you.
and it's like when I tell you, if you were to talk to anyone in my church, the way I talk about you and Loso, they would think yous are in our church, like you're like my homies or something. Because I'm trying
Yeah,
to tell
yeah.
them, and they're just like,
Yes, you should.
"Who's who are these guys?" Like, and I'm like, I'm sending them the stuff, and they're like, "Dang, they're really good. This is really class." And I think it's incredible, man, how the Lord has allowed us to that our first chance to meet is the fact that we're going to go on tour together.
Awesome. Yes,
You
most
know,
definitely.
and I
Yes.
suppose I suppose the main spoken word piece that people would recognize for you and Loso is the "it's okay not to be okay," and
Hmm.
let me say this, I remember when that video first came out, I sat down with my mom. I was home visiting my mom for a couple of days, and my mom was just having a cup of tea, and I showed the video to her, and I kid you not, the Lord allowed the next 10 to 15 minutes afterwards just be a moment where me and my mom got to talk real honestly about the topic of mental health. She was
Hmm.
in tears watching it,
That's
and
awesome, man.
my mom doesn't really watch like hip hop or spoken word or anything
Of
like that.
course.
So she was
Of
deeply
course.
moved by it, and she's excited to get to meet you both on tour. But the reason why I say that is because mental health is very real for me and my own family because I lost an uncle to it. I've lost four of my friends to it as well. In Ireland,
Hmm.
where you're coming to, one of the dates in Cork, Cork is known as the suicide capital of Europe.
Mm.
No, like it's like we have people who patrol our bridges and our streets on a nightly basis. They're called street pastors, and
Wow.
they patrol because people just throw themselves off, man. And then you have another piece as well called I Thirst. And
Hmm.
when I say this, that alcoholism is ripe in Ireland, like bro, you can walk into any of the shops and get like a 3 liter of cider for like €1, 150, and you've got
That's
people who
wild.
are
Yeah.
just drinking it like it's water. So the alcoholism is really ripe in Ireland as a whole. So there are two pieces that are going to be really impactful, man, at all the dates because everyone resonates with it. But I suppose I wanted to ask, like, how would I say this? It's such a powerful spoken word piece because it's a collaboration piece. Was it difficult to write for you and Loso?
That's a good question. That piece obviously started with the first battle that you saw of me.
Yeah,
So, I did a concept battle against another opponent. Um, and there's a battle league, a Christian battle league, who instead of like you battling your opponent, you are a concept and they are a concept, and you battle from that ideology or that idea, right?
sure.
So I was giving up. That was what my theme was. Somebody that wanted to give up on life, and my opponent was holding on. So
Wow.
he was battling me from, this is what I would battle from to tell you to hold on. Um, my mother, my whole life, has struggled from mental illness. Still to this day, diagnosed, just been the guinea pig for different medicines, and just man, just it's been a rough go.
Yeah,
And so a lot of times people hear that piece, and they think, oh, maybe me myself, I deal with depression, or and I've been depressed at times, but I've never really, it's never been something that you could really diagnose me with. What I
sure.
wanted to do was I wanted to give a voice to someone like my mother, who's mostly stays in the house and mostly is in a dark place or not feeling well and doesn't really have, the ability to go out and say how she's feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I started to write those rounds on that giving up battle. And I wrote, that I think it was that second round, just like from my mother's standpoint, and it was powerful, man. It was really, really powerful. That clip, just went around, and people were, man. And so, Loso, at the time, we were trying to write some things together, or whatever, and we were getting ready for to go on like a poetry tour and different things like that.
yeah,
And he was dealing with some things as well, like that
sure.
that kind of fell in that same category. And I think I was like, hey, what, have you ever thought about maybe, writing a mental health piece? And one thing about Loso is like he was preaching on Sundays. He's really like he reads a lot, you know what I mean, different things like that. And
Yeah,
like he had the practical, like pastor, like application of mental health as it pertains to the scriptures and what it means for, like, God to get the glory out of your mental health, you know?
Sure.
I had the real rap, raw, this is how I feel, you know what I mean? Like, God, why? You know, that's what I had. I had the emotional, and Loso had like the okay, here's how God can use it, you know?
Mm,
And it just worked so great, like as we started writing, because he would be able to put in pieces where I would say, man, it just feels like this piece almost feels like um like God's like we're questioning God, like because I'm so upset, you know, I'm emotionally, and then Loso would have the piece that says, in our questioning God, this is how God, you know, handled, you know what I mean? And so it really the back and forth and the way we wrote it together, like it was very seamless, you know,
yeah.
with his talent and his ability to take some of the things that I would write about the, you know, you get out of bed and shower, you know, that kind of stuff that's just real like you hear that line and you're like, okay, God, why is that? You know, and then
Yeah.
Loso will have a line that says, your mental illness makes you a walking billboard for the contentment of Christ. You know, like you like ways to look at it differently.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
so I think that's why it's so powerful. And then, like you said, just him and I, our chemistry and performing it, and just it's not just something on paper. It comes from real life experiences. Anytime you're performing something that comes from a real life experience,
Yeah.
it's communicated even better.
Yeah. It's true. And I say that because obviously on the tour you're going to perform that piece for sure, and anyone that has watched it, like that video that you guys have done on the Gospel Music Ireland TikTok channel, it's over 100,000 people have watched it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I need to check that out.
yeah.
I don't ever use TikTok, man. I need to go check it out.
I don't either. They told me I had to download it, and I was like, okay, I'll download it just to look, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible.
Wow.
And
That's awesome. Yeah. Cause I can't figure it out. There's so many of these social media. I just figured out Instagram. So, and it took me about 5 years.
but on the tour, man, will you be performing individual spoken word pieces, or will it be strictly collaborative?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be individual as well. Yeah,
Cool.
so I Thirst will be on there. You know, Loso's gossip piece. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the piece on gossip.
Yeah,
His
it's good.
that'll be on there. Loso has a piece I think on the resurrection that'll be on there.
Yeah,
Um, I have a piece. I'm not sure if I'll perform it yet or not. It's called I'm Not a Poet, but it's more of a fun, like funny, just word exercise piece. So it's a little bit more light. A lot of times
okay,
you can get into like poetry tours and everything is just like hard hitting topic. All right,
sure,
here we're talking about alcohol. Here we're talking about mental health. Here we're talking about this, and it heavy, weighs heavy on you.
sure.
Sometimes I like to break up the monotony with just like some lighthearted humor, different things like that. So I have some of those pieces as well. But yeah, so we'll both have individual pieces, then we'll have the piece together. And then I think we're working on another piece together right now that we're trying to figure out to make sure that we get it memorized and written. So hopefully you guys will be getting something that nobody's ever gotten before. So
Oh, thank you, Jesus. That
yeah,
like I know it's in like what is it, 7, 8 weeks. I'm so excited. Like this is like a
yeah,
legit a dream come true. Like I was
that's
talking
awesome, man.
to the associate pastor in my church, and he knows about you guys. No, he knows what you look like. He's watched some of your stuff, and he's like, bro, he's like, this is literally a dream that the Lord has allowed you to not just meet them, but go on tour with them. So I'm really ecstatic. Like I'm sitting here at my desk right now, and I kid you not, literally got a piece of paper where I'm literally deciding which ones I'm gonna structure for my spoken word set. There's like 11 or 12 of them to choose
Nice,
from. So like it's yeah. But I wanted to say, man, as a way to close out the podcast episode, right? Obviously, I'll leave the link down below for people to get their tickets. What are you most excited about for the tour? Is there any in particular part of it or
yeah. I mean, performing and going to different cities and countries and everything in itself is already very exciting.
Hmm,
I think we had talked, the last time we talked, I've been to Ireland in 2002, I believe it was. So it's been 22 years,
wow.
Um, I was 16 in my youth group after I started going to church. My youth pastor, he graduated from a college in Edinburgh, Scotland, and so he had a youth camp that he was a part of that met in Cork. And so in 2002, he took like six of us. We flew out there, and I spent a week in Dublin and then a week in Cork. But at the time, I'm like, 16 years old. So I'm kind of I was looking for somebody to play basketball with, like I didn't
Yeah.
care about looking at anything in Ireland. I didn't care about eating any food there. I probably was still like, I need some chicken nuggets and let's go find a basketball goal.
Yeah, yeah.
So now as an adult, haven't not been back since then. I'm just excited, one, to just see the country, to see the city, to interact with the people.
Mm,
And then also, I know that you say you like, hey, I've been following A.Ward and Loso for the longest time. Man, we get so much well, I personally get a lot of happiness, and I'm just blessed through the people I'm able to perform with. So I'm actually encouraged and looking forward to performing with you as well, to hearing your stuff, to hearing anybody else that might be performing.
yeah,
Because not sometimes, most of the time, the best events are when everyone's being ministered to by somebody else.
yeah,
Sometimes when you're looked at as, oh, they go on last, it's like, oh, it's they're supposed to be the ones that's ministering. It's like, no, like I'm going to be ministered to by some of the stuff you say and anybody else, and I'm excited for all of that. I'm not excited to drive on the other side of the road. I'm not sure how that works, but that's the only thing I'm not excited for.
wow,
But yeah, just I'll be good after the first trip around. So
yeah,
but yeah, man, just all of that, and just and not to be cliche or whatever, just watching God work. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just watching God work in multiple cities. Just by the sounds of our voice and the gift that He gave us to write down things and go out and say it into a microphone. And that
that's right.
that is just I'm excited to be the vessel and excited to see so what He does.
Yeah. Hey man, I have to just second everything that you've said. As the days approach, things are starting to take shape more. Irish people are very slow to act on things, but they're now getting to the stage where they're telling their friends about it. I mean, I don't mind saying this, but Cork is the date that holds a special place in my heart because it's my home, and
Hmm.
the Cork date is pretty much sold out.
Nice. That's
You know,
awesome, man.
I have people who are traveling 2 to 3 hours to actually come specifically for the court date, so I'm really excited about that. I've got a couple of school friends who I haven't spoken to in about 11 years. Um,
Wow.
haven't spoken to them because we weren't really friends in school. They were just more so acquaintances just to get you through school. But they're
Yeah.
coming, which is awesome. So I do want to say, man, thank you for giving up of your time. But more importantly, thank you for saying yes to come on the tour. I believe that this is going to be instrumental for Ireland as a whole, an opportunity to talk about cultural issues, but present Jesus in the midst of the cultural issues and make much of him, you know? So
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I just have the one thing that I had you put in my contract was that I can see the Chiefs play on that Sunday or whatever it is. I just got to make
yeah.
sure, that we carve out time.
That's being prioritized because I'm a Chiefs fan as well, man. And people know the way I am with sports. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, but yeah, I'm excited, Jerry, man. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your just support over the years. There have been times where even just, Instagram DM has been, a key for that day, just a reminder to me that, God's moving in what I'm doing and people see it and people are blessed by it, and I'm just thankful and grateful that I can help reciprocate that back to you, and encourage you in that way. And yeah, bro, we're excited, man. We are excited to be in Ireland, to be in all of the cities and all of the venues and meet all of the people.
thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast. Did you enjoy the episode? Maybe did it encourage you or motivate you? Do you think that someone in your life could benefit or be blessed by this episode? If so, then why not send it to them? Lastly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you use. This massively helps to spread the podcast literally all across the world. And don't forget that hope is to life as oxygen is to the body. God bless you and have a wonderful week. Take care.